ahead and you'll have a little download button right there. Click download, go grab yourself a coffee, and then, I don't know, I'll figure out the next is. It'll download, it's got then uncompress it, build all the shaders. That can take a second or two, or a minute or two. Fill this information, hit create project, and you are good to go. Now, I've already gone ahead and done that. So it comes up looking something like this. Actually, to be totally correct, it comes up looking like that with a little welcome dialog. Gives a link to the forums. There's some great forum questions and answers on there for this particular scene. If you have questions, both Unity employees are on there monitoring as well as our community. And what's nice here is it gives you a bunch of little tutorials to follow along. So I mentioned there's 4 different complete projects in here. So before I dive too much into this, let's take a look at what this thing contains, and I'll show you how about a lot of it is actually done. So I'll go to my game view, press play, and let me just go full screen so we get the full effect. There we go, cool. And so we start off in the terminal. The terminal is this very well lit, brightly lit environment. This one is great for doing look dev, and what I mean by that is if you have an asset that you built, or you want to see what your spaceship or your car looks like that you've been working on, just drop it on the floor there. It's going to have a lot of nice lighting effects built right in it. So right out of the box, you get really nice visual qualities, whereas before with the built-in renderer, kind of takes a little bit of work. And you'll notice when I don't touch it for a second or two, well, my mouse is drifting a bit. It goes into this little camera move where it just kind of shows you a little demo of the scene like this. So now we're in sort of a little playback mode. You can see we've got some nice water going on there, a little camera move here. But as soon as you move the mouse, you gain control again. And we're just using a stock Unity character controller. So of course, if I press the shift key, I will run. And the reason it's called the terminal is because we have these 3 different, like a train station. Like we have a train station there. You can go to the different tracks, go to the different terminals. And I will go, let's say, to this one over here first. We got a little Japanese little, I forgot what those things are called, little bodega, is that what it is? Whatever. Anyhow, you walk in there and you get this wonderful little transition. And if I walk to the very back, it's like I can look through there, but it gives us this really cool effect as though we're looking on like an LCD display or like a zoomed in on a, like on a monitor, some little RGB crystals, which is very cool. You can dive into that. That's a shader graph effect, which you can check out. Now, if you actually stare at the little Unity logo, you get this wonderful little dithery effect, and it literally then teleports you into the scene. It does a cool little camera switch trick, and now we are into the actual garden scene. So right away, you can see we have some falling particle or falling petals. Those are just a particle effect. You can see the style here. We went for something similar to Overwatch, and I don't know what's going on here. Oh. Hey, come on now. There we go. It's weird. I've done this many times. That's never happened. Anyway, so yeah, so it has a very Overwatch look. We've got this nice stylized little waterfall going on here with some lilies. These petals are on the ground. I'm going to show you how we did those. Some nice lighting going on. There's even some little flies bugging around, or some little gnats or whatever you call them. Little bugs that fly around lights. And yeah, so that's a quick look at this scene. I'll dive into it in scene view in a second, show you how some of this stuff was made. And if you come here and look at the Unity logo again, it will teleport you back into the terminal where these actually lights down here, these are real-time lights. We could bake those. There's a lot of combination of bake lights and real-time lights in these scenes. I'm going to show you some of those. And if we go into here, we get this, again, this cool, fun little transition. And again, if I go to the very back of the room, we get the same wonderful little monitor display. And then if I go and look at the Unity logo, we're then magically, again, teleported into this scene. So this is the Oasis. Here we've got a desert. We've got this wonderful lens flare going on. There's this tent in the back. All the foliage is moving. This was all done with SpeedTree. So if you ever want to do any kind of foliage use, check out SpeedTree. It does just about every plant and bush and shrub out there. You can set the age. You can make them get older or younger, and all those dead palm fronds, that's all just a slider in SpeedTree for age. We've got some nice water going on. And real quick, if I run over to the tent, we go and we can see we've got this interesting little effect where the saturation or the exposure increases as we walk into the effect or as we walk into the tent, like so. Now I'm going to hit the escape key and just get out of play mode here. And let's start back off in the terminal. Actually, no, let's just stay in the Oasis. Let's go to the terminal. Let's talk about the terminal for a minute. All right, so we're in the terminal. Now, there are 4 different scenes. If you start off in the terminal, it will load each of those other scenes as you walk in there, or you can load them individually, which is what I recommend to do if you're just starting to get the hang of this thing or just starting to use it, especially if you're going to do a build. Otherwise, it'll build all 4 of those. Now the target platform for all of these varies. So it's really designed to be scalable. So on the low end, it supports iPhone 8 and higher, and then on the high end, it supports all the way up to modern consoles. And one of the neat things here is if I go to, back to my little tutorials here, the second tab is graphical features. So if I click on that, it's got a bunch of these nice little tutorials that you're gonna walk through. I'm not gonna show you, but a couple of these, I'll let you dive into these when you get home or whenever you get time to play with this, but I will show you this first one. This is really important to how this whole URP works in general, and how you can set this up to work on multiple platforms or on like a PC with multiple different types of hardware. So the first thing it says here is quality levels. All right, so head into Edit Project Settings Quality. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So Edit Project Settings, and if I click on Quality, where I'm actually at right now, you can see I've got these different quality tabs right here. So if I zoom in my camera, so we see this a bit better, I'm going to switch between the different quality settings. So right now I'm in PC high, and I've got this nice shadow right there. If I go to mobile low, geez, that just doesn't look horrible, but you can see it's definitely for a lesser quality shadow. We've got a lot more baked lighting going on. There's no more real-time shadows going on. If I go to mobile high, we get a quick little flash of that shader we compile, but you can see that the quality is very similar, but we do have better shadows. We do have real-time shadows going on right now. And then if I go to PC high, this is where we have all the bells and whistles turned on. And what's neat here is you can have as many of these quality settings as you want, and right now for this scene we've labeled them PC low, high, and then mobile low and high. But you could have one for Nintendo Switch, you could have one for iPhone, whatever. And you can make that something that either your game or your project automatically determines what platform it's going to run on and make those changes for you by default. Or you can set something up like PCs have, where you have all those adjustments that you can automatically make. You could have those control a lot of these settings. And they're really, really simple to set up. So for instance, if I go to PC low, and I'm a little bit bound for real estate here, but if I double click on this guy, PC low, it's going to bring up inside my settings here, it's going to show me all the different render profiles that I have. So if I click on low renderer right here, actually no, let me stay on, do that again. Let's go to PC low, grab this here, and if I turn off, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see this. So right now you can see I have, for my main lighting, I want cast shadows on. Just for an example, I'm going to turn that off. And so now, and this, just because this was very clear, if I go to PC high, we got our nice shadows back on. If I go to PC low, our shadows are off. So there are a ton of features that you can turn on and off. I just chose one that's really, really obvious, which is cast shadows. So again, if I turn that back on, every time I'm in PC low, we'll see those shadows. And yeah, again, you can change, just a ton of different parameters. And it's not just on this page. There's several other pages that you can go to set some of these quality settings up, or you can control some of this through scripting. But again, it's very, very customizable. And you can see here it says add quality level, so you can add multiple different levels as well, not just the 4 that that come stock with this project. So again, very, very customizable and very scalable. That's kind of the idea here, is that URP is very, very scalable. Time goes by the way with HDRP, so that's the high definition render pipeline. Just to should have mentioned that earlier. And then URP is the more universal, and URP will actually become the default renderer here coming up with a later version of Unity. So anyway, so let's close this up really quick, and we'll talk more about those settings in a bit. Let's go ahead and let's do this really quick. I was talking about look dev, so let's do that really quickly while we're in the terminal scene. I've got this little statue here. This is an FBX model. This is the Laocoon and Son statue, which is found in the Vatican, and I just dropped it into my project in my scene view. If I press play, well, it goes away. Well, why did it go away? So for now, if you want this to appear, so this is if you're going to do some look dev at home, you're going to need to do a couple of things. So I'm going to get out of play mode. I'm going to select the statue, and I'm going to put it on the layer called terminal. And I'm going to say yes, do the children as well. And then I'll take the statue and just drag and drop it under my root setting there. And so now if I press play, the statue is nicely lit there inside of our scene. You can see we got shadows are on, ambient occlusion is turned on. There is only a basic lit shader set to white on here. So if this was very colorful and everything, you can see a lot more interesting stuff on there, but just wanted to show you with just a basic lit shader, you're still going to get some nice lighting, and that's how you can set this up to do some fun little look dev. So anyway, cool. Go ahead and turn that off, and let's talk about some of those other scenes that we're looking at. So we'll start off in the Oasis. So I'll load the Oasis all by itself, and that will give me just the Oasis. Let me zoom in a bit. We are currently outside the Oasis. All right, so here we go. So we are inside the Oasis, And the first thing I'll show you is the lens flare, because that comes stock now with URP. So if I just open up my root settings here, click on lighting, and right on my main light is down here at the bottom, the lens flare. So it's just a simple component you can add. I can crank the intensity up and down. I can crank this scaling up and down, really make that obnoxious, of course. And then it's one that I like a lot because if it's off, it just doesn't look right, so it's wonderful that it's there, which is the occlusion. So if I turn that off and I move the camera, you can see it doesn't flicker as it passes through the palm leaves like it should. So if I turn that back on, now we get that much more realistic looking flicker. I don't recommend anybody looking into the sun, but that's what it does when you do that. So what else is here? So let's go and talk about some volumes real quick. So if I go to my tent, I've got the tent volume, and if I open up my outdoor, I've got my outdoor volume. So I'm gonna press the F key with the volume selected, and that's gonna take me, let me turn my gizmos on so we can see it. So this green box here is a volume. It's just a square. And inside that volume, I have these color adjustments going on. So when I'm in the volume, I can control the fog, I can control the bloom. The post exposure is set to 0.25. If I select the tent, the tent volume, you can see that the post exposure is 4.24. That's why when I go into the tent, it brightens up so much. So just to show you how that works, let's go fly into the tent. Let's go fly into the tent. Whee! All right, and so now if I go into the tent, we get that nice bright exposure as this volume, it doesn't override the other volume, it just sort of enhances that other volume. So you can have volumes inside of volumes inside of volumes. That's all fine and dandy. And so if I go ahead and turn off my gizmos, just so you can see this a bit better, let's go in here and let's mess with a couple things. So first I could change this exposure setting so that it doesn't get quite so bright when I go in there. But you'll also notice that when I exited and went back in, it's a gradual effect that changes. So the blend distance right here is what's causing that. So if I set this to 0 and I move out now, it's a very harsh transition, right? On or off, light switch. Set that back to 2, it's gonna give me 2 unity units, which is what, 6 meters of, 2 meters. Like, what am I knew there was some bad math there. Yes, it's 1 meter per unit. I don't know where I got 3. Oh, I got 3 from, I was trying to convert it to feet. That's it, I was doing feet. See, I wasn't that bad, right? It's feet. So yeah, so it's almost 6 feet of change there. So anyway, really cool that you can set those up. That just adds so much more realism when these effects don't harshly turn on and off. And I can set things like bloom. I got some fog going on. And just to show you how easy it is to add some of these effects, like we've got this tea and some shisha here. So maybe when we're inside of here, something happens, like maybe some chromatic aberration happens. Let's turn that on, crank the intensity up all the way. And so now, now we've drank some of that tea, right? So we've got this little weird, you see this little double, triple rendering right there, right? You get that, you can animate that if you want. Okay, enough with the tea. All right, so anyway, that's how you can set these effects up. They're just simple overrides. And there's a bunch of them, whole big long list. You can add film grain, you can add all sorts of post-processing effects inside those volumes. So those are really nice. What else can I show you? Let's go over here to my water. It's not my water, but it's water. And let's go ahead and turn my gizmos back on. And let's just pan over here, and we should see our reflection probe. So let's select that really quick. One of the new things for reflection probes is we also have a blend distance now for URP. So this is brand new, as well as being able to change it to a box projection for your reflection probes. Not super important for this example, but it is a feature that was widely requested. What we are generating here is a 128 by 128 pixel reflection map. So very, very low resolution, because all we really want to capture is the rocks there and the trees. And because the water is animating, we don't need to turn this to real time, because I could have this, there it is, right now it's a baked reflection probe. I could set it to real time, but that's just gonna take resources, and there's just no need for something simple as water reflection when it's being animated anyway. So let's go ahead and take a look at the water, and I'm gonna go, I went underwater, wrong key, sorry. Let's go here to the edge, and show you some fun stuff there. Find a good space to show this. Right around here is good. All right, perfect. So you can see it's transparent. So if I select the water and I open this guy up, I can click on Edit, and this is the shader graph for the water. So if I double click on here, how many of you use shader graph? Oh, good, very good. So Shader graph is awesome. It's kind of the preferred recommended way of writing shaders with URP. Far more efficient or faster, I think, than writing code. A couple things to notice. If I do a mouse over, for those of you that haven't used shader graph, every one of these little nodes here, you can see highlights a node there in the shader graph. So these are inputs. The normal map is inputting a texture 2D. These next ones are all floating point, floating point, floating point, then another texture. So what does that really do? Well, if I go back into the project and look at the shader, take a look at this. I've got a normal map, and there's a texture map. So normal map, texture map. Normal tiling, normal max strength, normal tiling, normal max strength. So this UI is procedurally built based on the parameters here. So whatever parameters that you create here, in the various types that they are here, it's gonna build that UI for you automatically. So if you're a technical artist, you build these complicated shaders, let an artist, someone who's not very technical, who doesn't understand this kind of stuff, they can still make these adjustments with your shader. In all the shader graph, there's a whole bunch of them, that little dithering effect of the monitors. When you walk up to the wall, that's a shader graph. There's a whole bunch in here. You can grab these, you can use anything that's in this project for yourself. So dive into those, tear them apart, modify them, or just use them in your own project. They are yours for the usage. So just to show you some of the fun stuff you can do, like we've got the index of refraction on there. I can change the color, big whoop on that one. The normal map strength, these are really very, very delicate values there, but there we're just adjusting the amount of, well, noise that we're getting from the normal map, which is generating that nice bump for us, and some other fun stuff we can do with the water there. Let's go and take a look here at the tree. I want to show you another shader graph. So let's grab this palm tree, click on edit, and again we have a fairly complex shader graph here. What's fun to point out about this one is a few things. One, wind. We're calculating the wind, and we're doing that through vertex colors. So all of the foliage that you see in this project is made with SpeedTree, which I mentioned. SpeedTree can output vertex colors, which we can then use to drive the animation. So the animation isn't driven by SpeedTree, it's driven by this bit of shader graph code, which is then giving us let me go back to my scene view, which is us giving us the nice movement that we see. Let me actually get out of the blinding sun so we can see a bit better. And you'll see that the palm trees are gently moving there. Some of you may not know this. This is a trick I like, or not a trick, a tip I like to show everybody, which is this always refresh. So the reason that when I'm in scene view and we still see the animation is because I have always refresh on, which by default is off in Unity. So if you're wondering why your stuff doesn't update all the time in real time, when you're in the scene view, you can see it just updated there. Every once in a while it updates. But I like to keep this on. I've got a nice powerful machine. If you're on something a little bit slower, you may not want to have that on, but this is going to show us that animation as it's running. So if I expand that node, this again is all the parameters that were exposed in that shader graph. One thing I can do is turn the wind off, turn it up. Through the shader graph, I could increase the intensity if I wanted to. You kind of slide it there, I guess. This one here is awesome, subsurface scattering. So look at the difference between no subsurface scattering versus subsurface scattering. So again, that's all shader graph code. So you can see exactly how that was made. If you want to, dive in there, pull that shader apart, and figure out how all that was done. Lots of good stuff in here just to make those trees and all that other foliage more believable. Another nice thing here with URP is the addition of decals. And being a 3D artist at heart, this really, really makes me happy because UV mapping sucks, to be honest with you. Generating all your UVs, trying to get your UVs to span across multiple objects is always a pain in the butt. So what a decal allows you to do is literally spray paint a stencil on top of geometry. And it can be geometry that overlaps. You don't have to worry at all about the UVs, and so that is why I have, or how I'm able to have 1, 2, 3 pieces of geometry, and I see this little effect appear over all of them. You can also see that it has a height or a depth to it as well, so we're able to go underneath and above the sand as we move this. And we use this in all 4, no, it does not use in the one scene, but it is used in the terminal, the oasis, and in the garden scene. So let me show you another example. It's just wonderful for adding a lot of subtle effects. So this one here, we're just spray painting. Can you see that? Yeah, we're just spray painting some dirt. You'll see like some dirt on there, just to give those rocks a little bit more believability, a little bit more life. And if I pan out, you can see that we've got just a ton of those decals. And if I select them all, let me turn my gizmos off. There it is without them, there it is with them. So there's some white, there's some black, there's just some noise, just to give it that life, a little bit more life that you want to add to your scene. So A lot of really great examples inside the Oasis. So definitely invite you to dive in there. There's some more in the tutorials that I won't show you. I'll leave those for your own to mess around with. But anyway, that's the Oasis. Fog, there's some nice fog in there going on. That's one of the tutorials that'll show you. It's on the volume. So that's the Oasis. Let's take a look at the Garden. This is weird. I installed a new NVIDIA driver, which has made my dialog boxes somewhat transparent for some strange reason. But anyway, all good. So all right, we're zoomed far out. Let's go zoom in and get into the Oasis. Woo, there we are. All right, so let's turn our gizmos back on. And holy cow, look at all those decals. Lots of rubber stamp decals. I just love these. Let's find one that's, I'm gonna make everybody sick. I'm not trying to do that. Let's go to this one. Here's a good example. I'm gonna grab this little decal here, and look, I'm just spray painting those petals on there. And you can see that they, actually here, if I go to, let's find one that's over some water, like this guy here. So if I grab this one, you can see once it reaches the rock edge, it no longer projects onto the water. So we're not getting them there where we don't want them. Very, very controllable, and they just add so much. They're just so easy to use. I mean, it's one of the nice things. The little stylized waterfall that we have, this is all a nice shader graph. You can explore that one at your leisure, which generates this nice little pooling effect. Let's talk about lighting real quick. So let's go over here to the corner, and let's take a look at this light right here. So to do this properly, I'm gonna go into play mode, and I'm going to run to that same location, and let's take a look at this in play mode. So in play mode, you'll notice we've got, again, those little, can you see them? Yep, those little gnats, those little whatever things that annoy you flying around, but also notice the shadow that we have flickering there on the light. And then we go into that mode again, which I need to turn off one of these days. So here, let's go to our scene view, and let's take a look at what's really going on here. So if I select this light, we can see that there's this script running. So the reason I'm in play mode is because I need this light flicker script to be running. And what that does, it gives us just a little bit of subtle animation there on our shadow. If I increase this, check that out. Obviously way exaggerated, but just to show you what's going on. That's what's going on. So with a value of 1, it's very, very subtle, which is generally what you want. The nice thing is it looks like the shadow right here is being driven by the light generating a real-time shadow because of that piece of wood right there, but no, it's just a trick. We're using cookies, not the kind that you eat. It's my dumb joke, but these little cookie cutouts that allow you to do very inexpensive GPU performance-wise, very few calculations. This works on low-end mobile even, to make these really nice lighting effects without having to compute complicated shadows. So comes with a bunch of different cookies. You can add your own. This one's nice because it really gives us that look that we have a true shadow being generated. In fact, this white box right there isn't even a light source. It's just a white box. And then we've got this point light sitting basically above it that's generating the illumination there. So lots of nice stuff there. There are a bunch of different unique lights going on here. Each one does something a bit different. I shouldn't say each one. There's several different types, and they all behave a little bit differently. If we fly into here, there's some of these in the corner that use a different cookie, which again, you can see that gives us that really very believable look that the light is actually coming out and generating those shadows, but it's just a trick using those very efficient cookies. And again, just those little subtle details, like a little bit of dust floating through the air. So good stuff there. Let's talk more about some of those quality settings that we started at the beginning. So I'm gonna go here, just position my camera here, and I'm gonna turn off, go out of play mode, and I'm gonna turn off my gizmos again so you can see this very clearly. So, all right, so at the very beginning, I was talking about the different project settings and the different levels of detail you have for different devices. So I'm gonna say edit, project settings, and let's step through these different quality settings. So right now I'm on PC low. I thought it was on PC high, could have fooled me. Still looks great. So there's PC high. Look at mobile low. You'll notice that, well, all the decals went away. Mobile low, which is designed for iPhone 6, iPhone 7, doesn't support those. If it does, it's very slow, so we just turn that off. When we're in mobile high, all that stuff gets turned back on. But look at the difference in detail of the foliage, the trees. Watch how much difference there is between high and low. It's subtle, but the polygon count is almost 3 times as much. And that's just generating LODs. So with Speed Tree, you can You can have it generate all your different LODs for you, LODs, LODs, which are levels of detail. So right here we're using 3, so we'll toggle between 3 different levels. And one of the really nice features of Unity 6 coming up is the ability to do real-time geometry LODs that Unity just does automatically for you, which is awesome. So you don't have to decimate your 3D objects anymore. Unity will do it all for you and give you these really, really efficient different levels of detail, which you don't have to deal with at all in a DCC app or some sort of decimation app. It just does it all automatically for you. I'm not going to show you that today, but just know that it's out there. In fact, if you go to the Unity roadmap talk that was just posted a couple days ago from Unite, there's a ton of great new stuff on there, including that automatic LOD system. So you may want to check that video out. What else is going to show on here? Oh, let's do this. This is fun. So I'm going to go into PC Hive, and I'm going to double click on this guy, and I'm going to click on here. And one of the neat things that is a big feature going forward, I didn't even need to say it, that's a funny pun, is forward plus versus forward versus deferred. So we've had forward rendering versus deferred rendering. Deferred lets you use a lot more light sources, but it's far more inefficient. Forward is far more efficient, but doesn't let you use nearly as number of light sources. In fact, it's only 8 per game object that it can light up, whereas forward plus is just as efficient as deferred, but then it allows you to use a ton of light sources. And one of the really cool new features is the lighting complexity viewer. So if you go into your render debugger, and you actually find that by going Window, where is it, Analysis, Render Debugger right here. I've docked it down here in my view, in my, down here, my whatever, down, it's docked down there, that's what I'm trying to say. And if you go into Material, Material Override, and not that one, I go to Lighting Complexity. Check this out. So what this is showing me is how many, now this is a per pixel thing, so because we got those little numbers in there and it takes several pixels to make a number, we're showing these in tiles. But what this is showing you is approximately in each one of these tiles how many light sources it's using to compute that. And so this is super, super useful for doing debugging. This is fairly new, it was introduced actually in 2022. You'll find it in the latest LTS, but here it is in 2022, what am I saying? Yeah, so it's in here as well. It's also, of course, in Unity 6. Now watch what happens when I switch from forward plus to forward. Look how many more lights we're using, how much less efficient that is versus forward plus. And if I go to deferred, it's the same. So you can see just, I mean, visually, very clearly, just how much more efficient and faster forward plus is. So good stuff there. Let's go and let's just keep that the way that is. Let's turn off lighting complexity and go back to none. I did have a brain thing there, which is something I wanted to show you. So I'm going to minimize this really quick. And here, something that's new for Unity 6. And I was going to show you this project in Unity 6, but then I thought I was going to show you time goes, and I didn't have time to test it. So if the URP sample project is available today in Unity 6 as well, so you can download Unity 6 Preview, download the sample project, or you can use 2022 LTS, which is what I'm using now. But one of the neat new features for Unity 6 is the ability to show heat maps in your shader graph. So all these little colored bars right there basically show you how long each one of these nodes takes to process. And it's based on a gradient. You can control the colors yourself. But as you're building your shader graphs, now you can visually see the performance of them. And you will find that right, let's see, let's do this. Let's go grab a shader. We have to see a shader first. So let's grab the water, and let's open that shader graph. So if you want to see heat maps in Unity 6, again, you're not going to see it in 2022, but right here, if you click on color mode, there's a brand new pull down there called heat maps, and that's going to show you that view I just showed you. Super useful if you're building those complicated shader graphs to really see where the efficiencies are and where the inefficiencies are. So just good stuff all the way around. What else can I show you? I think that's all I wanted to show in this scene. Let's show you one more thing. Let's go back to our project here. And I'm going to go into the, actually, you know what? Let's do it from the terminal. Let's walk in there. I think it's fun. Let's go back into the terminal. Let's go into play mode. And the last thing I'll show you, let's double click our game mode. No, I don't care about that. Good. Oof, gotta get my mouse centered there. By the way, if you're using this and you find the mouse is way too sensitive, just go into your character controller, which is under the root. Oh, you gotta be in off the play mode. grab the character controller and just adjust the rotation speed of the head, and it'll make your mouse far less twitchy. On my Mac, it's like super sensitive versus my PC where it's not nearly as sensitive. So it's just the character controller needs a little bit of adjustment. So there is the last one I'm going to show you, which is a very different type of scene. And again, we got the same fun little effect where if we walk up to it, we get the monitor display. Ooh, there's ships flying in. So what's this? Let's zoom in, look at the Unity logo. And this one here is designed for VR. This is designed for standalone VR headsets like the Quest 2. Basically just sit back and watch this thing play out. Everything here is sequenced with timeline, so you can go into timeline as these ships are flying in, as stuff is popping in and out. You can easily resequence them, move those all around. I built this for the Vision Pro the other day, and good grief, does it look amazing. It's really beautiful. And what you'll notice here is we're doing basically a cell animation. So you got the black outline, the pencil outline, followed by some very contrasty colors. I'm just moving the mouse around, which simulates your head movement. This builds right away to the Quest 2, just 20 minutes worth of work to get it to work for Vision Pro, mostly setting up some Apple stuff. But yeah, just sort of sit back and let this unfold. All these shader graphs are really nice to look at as well if you're interested in how cell shading works. Dive into those shader graphs and you can see all that good stuff and see how this entire project was made. So this is the new URP sample scene. Really, really pleased at what they've done. Put a lot of time and effort into this, so this is going to be a great way for you to learn all the new features with URP. Allows you to put your own objects in there, check out your stuff with the look dev, fly around in space, go to an oasis, and check out a Japanese garden. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Hopefully it was all good stuff. Let me know if you have any questions, and yeah, there you go. Any questions? Yes.
Is there a built-in way of making all the transitions time and then by adjusting
Sure. Yeah, you can just override that with the script, I'm sure. Yeah, for sure. That's just a yes. Anyone else? It was a great question, by the way, was as you're transitioning between volumes, as opposed to being in distance, have it be something that's more time-driven, like your eyes adjusting from waking up, or someone turning the lights on in the middle of the night, like, hey, that kind of thing. So yes, definitely. Well, cool. And I'm gonna enjoy my beer, and we'll be around. If you haven't, oh yes. Yes. Yeah, you can throw color ones on there. They do get turned into black and white though, so it's always going to be an effect that looks like that. Exactly what that's for. I mean, nail right on the head. You can take a little jack-o'-lantern, make little things, and it's going to make those little jack-o'-lantern things like that. My birthday's on Halloween, so awesome. I like that. That's a great example. I'm going to use that one actually. I think I might actually put a jack-o'-lantern in that scene now that I think about it. Definitely gonna do that. Thank you. All right, well, cool. Did everybody get their Unity playing cards? There's a whole bunch more we have to give out, so if anyone needs some, let us know. Mike apparently is really good, but I think use on purpose for once. Oh yeah, of course. Yes. Sorry, that doesn't have to be related to the presentation. You know what I'm just happy about? No one's saying, hey Mark, tell me about the runtime fee and how much it sucks. So thank you for that, because
Runtime fee,
I ain't heard of that. What? It's been the best year ever. No, thank you for putting up with that silly mistake. But yeah, so anyway, if there's any questions, shoot. There's a bunch of us community roaming around, happy to answer your questions. Thank you all so much for coming out. Next time I'm here, I promise it won't be, well, I've never been here, so it's been like many years. It'll be sometime later next year, and I'm going to show you Time Ghost and another project called Fantasy Kingdom, give you a nice big breakdown of how all that was made. It's been really fun, just a little bit of time I've had diving into Time Ghost. There's so much goodness in there, really cool project. So next time I'm here, I'll give you a good breakdown of how all that was made. So it's my background is more VFX than gaming. Oh, I've been in Unity for 10 years. I really love the VFX stuff, so it's fun to dive into that kind of stuff. So anyway, enjoy a beer or or a Coke or some pizza. There's plenty left, and we'll be walking around. And thank you.